Hey everybody, I'm Bruce Sweeney, the founder of Simplify Life. In today's segment, Change Your Food, Change Your Mood, we're going to talk about carbs. Now I've done tons of segment on carbohydrates. We're not going to talk about the best type of carbs. You should always aim for really healthy carbs, but really understanding how much carbs should I be consuming. Now at Simplify Life, we're not high or low carb. We're really based on whole food, the Mediterranean diet. And also, we're not against low carb, we're not against ketogenic diet, because there's many advocates out there will tell you that when it comes to consuming carbs, whether you're high or low, carbs convert into one thing that is pretty common: glucose. And glucose has the ability to cross a brain barrier. So really it affects your brain. Your brain needs fuel and needs glucose. And yes, if you're on a proper ketogenic diet or low carb, you can still figure things out. But I'm talking about the population as a base on, Bruce, how much carb should I be consuming? Okay, well, rule number one, are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to do athletic performance, or are you trying to maintain? I'm going to get you in a zone that's more popular. How many grams of carbs should I consume per day if I'm healthy? When is the best time to consume carbs? Because yes, it does affect your mood, and I've seen it over and over. If you're dramatically cutting your carbs really fast, doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but it means that some of you can get pretty ugly and grumpy pretty fast. Matter of fact that your brain is so carbohydrate addict, especially to glucose. It's very important. The rule of thumb is that you consume carbs at least every 3 to 4 hours. That doesn't have to be concrete, but it's a good rule of thumb until you talk to an expert that can basically shift things around. And make sure you have it for breakfast, maybe as a snack, lunch, snack in the afternoon. But I've always said when it comes to managing your weight, avoid carbs at night, because the last I've checked, when we go to bed, we don't burn a whole lot of calories. Unless you're in the honeymoon phase, that's a whole different story. So if you're 300 pounds and your goal is to be 200 pounds, it's simple math ratio that I've used over the last 30 years. You want to keep your mood in check. You want to feel good, because carbohydrates can affect your depression, anxiety, and your state of well-being. And on top of that, you can get derailed on what is your core focus. So you're 300 pounds, you want to get to 200 pounds, you should nourish that body. That body should be a simple equation of 200 times 0.75. So it would give you an upper end at about 150 grams of carbs a day. Now, some of you might argue that's too much carbs, and some of you might argue it's not enough carbs, because if you come from measuring the amount of carbs, if you're eating junk food, refined food, it seems not like a whole lot. But if you're consuming healthy carbs, that's plenty of different carbs diversity for your day. I'm talking from eating healthy grains, ancient grains, fruits, vegetables, root vegetables, rice, and always try to eliminate your carbs before going to bed. Another thing too is that if you want to maintain that body weight and you're starting to exercise, this is when you need to start manipulating your carbs also. Again, we're not touching the topic of low carb or ketogenic diet, which has an abundance of other choices. We're talking if you're generally just eating carbs, whether you're vegan, vegetarian, or carnivore, very important to understand that you're going to have to adapt that fuel. Same thing as adapting the amount of fat, same thing as adapting the amount of protein. Because if you don't and you start exercising, even if you reach goal weight and you're not adjusting your carbohydrates accordingly, it will affect your mood. And one of the biggest shifts I've seen over the years, and I'm sure you're hearing me right now as we speak, is that when we're trying too hard and we're really cutting down all our carbs, that's when it has a huge impact on our mood. So when you talk about change your food, change your mood, one of the biggest components, the most important one, is understanding the amount of carbs we should be feeding and fueling yourself, especially our brain. If you have a help or an expert like me who can educate you how to tweak your carbs, go more low carbs and implementing more fats, that's a whole different ballgame. Today we're talking about the amount of carbs you should be consuming to lose weight, maintain your weight, and most of all, feel good about your journey.